All right. Another fun little tune to listen to kick off the game. Now we're going to transition, excuse me, now we're going to transition into group therapy. A nice chance to check in with our characters' emotional states. How are they feeling about current events? What exactly did happen last session? If you watch a lot of reality TV, this can almost be like the confessional where you get the cutaway and it's like this is how Eigner really feels, you
I
know.
feel I feel like
So
that's on your mind because of a comment I made in our meeting the other day.
exactly, exactly. No, I just thought it was like a funny thing to bring up, and
No,
I was like,
definitely.
hey, group therapy is totally like that.
It really kind of is, yeah.
Really kind of is. Now we just need more humor injected and more like sassy, like
Oh,
I don't know,
sassy Agner
sassy,
when he gets
sassy
his
Agner.
way.
Oh, you get sassy for sure. So speaking of Agner, I suppose I will start with him. Egner is in a kind of a interesting mental state right now where he's definitely like having his whole like course of actions totally like influenced. But if you know Agner, he's kind of stubborn and he like wouldn't admit that he wouldn't admit to the real reason like why he's doing certain things, but his course of actions is definitely getting influenced, and he's been thinking about Ellie a lot, in this way, just as far as realizing like our whole situation is so fucking like complicated right now. How did it get this fucked up? He's really kind of thinking like, how did it get this fucked up? Honestly, and essentially, there's a new character that got brought in, who, interestingly enough, was the dwarf in the city of Twin Harbor that Egner had originally tried to save from danger. And now there seems to be a bit of a budding little relationship. Sparks are kind of flying between Ellie and this random dwarf that Egner tried to save. But so Egner is trying to like take. I can't remember the dwarf's name. I'm sorry right now. I'm like blanking.
Rory.
Rory,
Rory.
that's it, Rory. So Egner is trying to like associate with Rory more and almost like, become buds with him. And Egner thinks it's because, well, this guy's like kind of my responsibility and I tried to save him originally and blah blah blah, and that's what his line of thinking is. That's what he's telling himself. But really, I think it's because he's kind of jealous. He's kind of jealous. But Egner's so stubborn, he wouldn't admit that to himself. So yeah, it's just interesting. It's complicated, and we'll see if Egner fucking snaps out of it and realizes what a fucking doofus he's being. Um, we'll see. so, so that's Egner.
I'll go next because I just feel like Ellie always rolls on like so easily after Agnes on in this. Yeah, so we're trying to rescue Ellie's brother. That's like the main thing on her mind right now is rescuing her brother. And she's kind of like at the minute doing almost like whatever it takes. Like I think she pretty much will at this point do whatever she has to do. Like, and she's already done like in the whole process of her being in this process of her being in in this group. She's done a lot of stuff that she probably shouldn't have done. So I don't know. She gets put in some bad situations. I think she's prepared to do what she needs to do. And part of that at the minute is trusting this random new dwarf that's just like shown up, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like he's fine. Well, like, what are you talking about?" Yeah, I think it's maybe because he's shown her some like positive attention. It's like finally someone appreciates like my excellence. Um, but yeah, so she's just kind of a little bit swept up in that. She had the weird dream with the woman when she was on watch. Um, so she's kind of a little bit, I think, shaken by that. Um, but yeah, she's just like following Zella's little like message trail, but also kind of ignoring his advice at the same time. Yeah, that's Ellie at the minute, I think. Um, I don't think she's really picked up on Eigner acting like jealous, but the whole like little bit of a thing about rescuing Rory in the river kind of like irritated her very slightly. But I don't think she's thought enough about it yet as to like why. Because to Ellie, she sees Eigner going off with like Eridu all the time, or like Rue, and like every time there's like another guy in the vicinity, Eigner ends up being like BFFs with them. So she's probably just like, oh, it's just another best friend thing going on. So yeah.
Just another Eigner buddy.
Yep.
And where we had left off was making it across the river with our water walk and almost having a few people drown. But Agner's quick thinking and opening that gate and getting him and Rory to the other side of the river saved their lives. And then Leah and Ellie made it across. Everyone and decided that it's probably best to rest for the evening, dry off, warm up, have a good meal, and approach the fort in the morning so as to not look like, people sneaking into a dwarven fortress. And that is where we picked up today, with us waking in the morning from a makeshift little camp.
I think we need to do Leah's group therapy.
Oh,
Also, we can't hear you, Kyle.
Oh, what? Oh, sorry. It was funny because from my perspective, you and I said that the exact same words at the exact same time.
that's funny.
So, but, yeah,
I
I'm
guess
glad you
that
had it covered.
Leah doesn't have emotions today. She doesn't get to have feelings.
As if.
Yeah, it feels like it'd be a nice break for her, you know?
I think for everyone. I think for everyone. in the
right.
party, I mean.
Okay, I was.
My internet is. Oh, go on.
Oh, I was overzealous, so I was cutting you off. Your internet being crappy was really funny, actually, because on Twitch you had frozen, given this look, and it looked like a look you're giving me saying, "So you're just gonna skip me now?" And it was frozen in that for a good 10-15 seconds.
To do everything, figure out.
There was a good robot.
Am I back
voice
now?
There. Yeah, there you go.
This is really bad. I'm trying to figure out how to fix it, but you might just want to skip me for a while I try and figure that out. We'll just have to be in the dark about Leah.
Mysterious.
My internet seems to also be, well, at least for Twitch, a little slow.
Carry on.
Word. Alright, so like Asa was saying, we were camped out and just about to approach the Dwarven Fortress.
Mm-hmm. This part of the Dwarven Empires is like a low hilly grassland. There are not proper hills, but raised, like higher sections of the ground. And that's what this fort is built on. And it is like hand dug to be in tiers, and then using that sort of tiered system as a wall to block off each layer of the fort. But it's only at the very top tier that the camp is set. And as you are all approaching, you can see smoke coming up from the tops of little huts inside the fort itself. There is the tiered wall system are mostly made up of dugout layers of dirt, but at the very top is a stone wall, probably about 10 feet high, but it's so far lifted up off the ground that it would be hard to overcome that wall without going through these other pitfall sections. Then there's one clear path leading up to a gate, and that's the path that Rory seems to be leading you all to. And in the morning, some other dwarven groups are leaving the fort and sort of setting out. They kind of eye you guys warily, but nobody really says anything, um, because Rory's taking the lead and seems to be walking with purpose. What are the rest of you doing?
Eigner is just following unless someone is giving him the whole, like, description of the scenery, in which case he'll be having some comments about how defensible this place is, and how they gotta be, like, careful to not show any kind of aggression. you know.
Yeah,
We gotta
I
be
think
super
Ellie
diplomatic.
Ellie's probably like barely a step or so behind Rory, but like in line with him and something like that. She's too busy. Like she's not giving Eigner a description of what's going on.
Totally fair. Totally fair.
She's sort of chatting to him and like smiling at dwarves as they pass and looking all like friendly and stuff. But
Yeah, Rory will happily chat away and point out the marvel of dwarven ingenuity and how practical everything is. And that seems to be his major point. Like, he points out the idea of their weapons, and many of them carry they're just little axes hanging off their belts. But he talks about how the pole of the axe can extend so that it ends up being a bit more like a halberd, and then at the end of each one is a weighted ball that could be used like a club as well. And just marveling at his own people's ability to be practical and creative at the same time. That's just sort of something that he ties in with Ellie's ability to create things, because that level of ingenuity is interesting to him.
Egner's definitely picking up on what Rory's saying, and he's actually quite impressed, nodding along, and trying to imagine what it would look like, and just, being very, very impressed at the ingenuity.
Well, let's get y'all inside, and we'll get a good meal and maybe some good dark coffee.
Yes.
What do you say?
Yes, please. You drink coffee?
Of course. That's a morning beverage.
All right. That's yeah. I could use some.
Right. So he begins to lead you, and Eigner, you feel the immediate change in the softness of the ground. You're no longer walking on grass, but on compacted sand. And he's like, "Well, we're almost to the gates," and the rest of you can see the gates themselves are a ironed portcullis that it doesn't come down because it doesn't have an archway. It comes to the side, out of each side of the low wall, and standing on either side is flanking a guard. Their axes are extended to be halberds, and they're standing there with those out and their shields up. Very, very at attention. They don't seem to be blinking or moving a muscle as you approach. And then when you get to the gate, one turns to you and says, "And what's your business here?" He sounds similar to Rory.
oh, I'm gonna kind of look to Rory to deal with this. I think.
He just, claps the man on the shoulder. "Well, we're just here to see your commander." And the soldier looks at him and says, "Well, he is away for the afternoon, or for the morning. He went off on one of his hunts again. If you want to find him, head east. Well, no, east is the river. Head north. There's a bit of a forest area up there." And Rory turns to you all and says, "So, in for coffee or north for the commander? What's it gonna be?"
We came for the commander.
I mean, a little drink of coffee wouldn't hurt necessarily, but I mean, whatever you think is best, Ellie. Honestly, if you think we should get going, then you know.
Oh, I'm gonna look to the guard that was talking, um, and ask, what? How long do you think it will be until he's back?
Oh, he typically leaves soon as the sun rises and is gone until it sets again.
So a
He,
long time.
Mhm. He'll only be gone for the day. He doesn't camp out in the woods at night like any sensible dwarf would. Like any sensible dwarf.
He would not. Yeah.
Uh, would he feel? Would it be wrong of us to go and interrupt him on his hunting thing? Would he appreciate us waiting? Do you think? Or
I think it would depend on the matter of your business. I can't remember. It would depend on what you're looking for him for.
Okay. Well, a day is a long time. I don't want to wait a day. I think we should go and find him.
All right. Long as they keep that coffee warm, yeah, I'll definitely take you up on that cup of coffee when we get back. That's fine. That's just fine.
All right. Well, north you said. Guard nods. And Rory turns and as you guys start down the path again says, would have liked a cup of coffee. Would have been a good fresh stop. Oh well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's good. It's fine.
How's your internet coming, Alex?
Well, I'm attempting to use my phone as a hotspot instead of trying to use the household internet. So we'll see how that goes.
It's
And
pretty.
how much data I end up using.
It's smooth at the moment, so
Yeah, it does seem to be
Yeah.
better.
for sure.
Cool. All right. The journey through the north through the grasslands is it's pretty open and you guys can see, those of you can see, quite a distance off, and there are a few more of these raised sections of the ground with these forts, and you can make them out quite a distance away, but it seems like these little, I don't know, you'd call them forts are popping up kind of everywhere along the river line, and sure enough, the forest. You kind of the plain dips a little bit, and you can see the trees start to poke up as you get closer, and it probably takes you maybe an hour to walk toward it. And it's a very out of place forest. These trees are growing pretty tall, pretty well. Most of them are very red, as far as like their bark is very red, and the leaves are look to be in well bloom despite the fact that it's late fall. And those of you who've traveled in through the Dwarven Kingdoms know that for the most part forest areas are rare and are much closer to the mountains. Yeah, but you're making your way down to the forest, and as you can see groups of dwarves camped along the forest edge. There's about 3 different camps with fires burning. What are you guys going to do?
Well, as we're walking further and further into the wilderness, Eigner is going to focus intently on his sense of smell. And as they walk, he's just going to keep smelling and breathing and smelling and trying to like get a kind of a profile of all the different kind of things that they're being surrounded by, essentially.
Yeah.
He's like trying to pick up any scent of like wild game. He's trying to pick up the scent of maybe if there's soldiers that are like marching closer toward them that they can't see. Like anything, pretty much. So
Alright.
he's gonna do a perception check
Do it.
with advantage. Duh. Holy cannoli. Okay, so I rolled a 19, and that's gonna be a 27.
All right. Um, yeah, you smell the strong smell of fire, of like burning, specifically burning brush, not wood for itself, and and occasionally you feel a small tremor as something large has fallen. Um, I think that's probably the major things that you would pick up.
Okay, so burning brush
Mm,
was the first one, and then the tremor from something large falling.
yeah.
Hmm.
And then you can of course smell the sweat of people at work.
Mhm.
You can smell very strong coffee and
Hmm.
meat being brewed and cooked. And something tingles at like the edges of your more divine perception. Uh, that perhaps you're stepping into a holy place.
Mm. Hmm. Well, I will let everyone else know that in a very simple way. I will say, okay, so we're either walking into a logging operation or we're walking into some kind of sacred spot. I can't quite tell, but either way, we should be careful.
When you mention logging operation, Rory rounds on you, and Leah and Ellie can clearly see that he has, uh, you know, complete fear etched on his face. And he goes, "What? They wouldn't dare go logging down there. That's foolish. Everyone knows that chopping down trees is bad luck."
Is that now? I had not heard, but I'm just telling you what I'm smelling. I've been trying to pick up what's around us, and from what I'm smelling and feeling, that's what I think.
Well, that's no good. We gotta get down there. We gotta do something about this. They can't go chopping down forests. It's never ended well for our people before, and I don't care what the circumstances are. It won't end well now.
Look, slow down for a second. What's so bad about cutting down trees again?
I I can't really say exactly what's bad about it. I don't know. But I know is every time we've done it, something bad's happened. Whether it's the entire clan just disappearing, or something coming out of the woods and just attacking and ravaging. Uh, it's always been bad.
Okay. Are you sure it's our place right now to go stop them from doing that? Maybe we should find a way to send a message back to the command, or maybe talk to one of these other groups at these other forts that we're passing. And
You might be right. Spending time in the harbors is giving me a very eastern way of thinking. It's not my place to go challenge in the chain of command. That's up to my higher ups. We should probably go and find Darun. He likely has got something to say about this.
sure, I look. I don't mean to tread on your people's way of being or your routines or anything. I just thought we had a mission here. I just want to do what's good for us to be able to accomplish that mission.
Right. Picking the battles and all that. Well, uh, they said Darun was in the forest, so maybe he's at one of these camps.
Well, hopefully we find him sooner rather than later.
Right.
We could ask someone at one of the camps if they've seen him.
Yeah, seems like a good place to start. So, you guys head into the nearest camp. These camps are all just, essentially places for them to pitch up tents made of animal hide, and that's just kind of what the tents are used for, is for covering logs to keep them from getting wet if it rains or anything like that. And then there are large beasts of burden that have domed heads and have covered in large plates of almost insect-like, beetle-like plates of armor. Um,
That's cool.
they are they're often called land sharks. Off the top
The
of my head,
Bulettes?
yeah, the bullets are being used
Those are some of my favorite monsters.
to carry these wagons of logs. A lot of the dwarves that work here don't look like soldiers. They wear just practical clothes. Many of them just wearing pants and hauling logs onto these wagons, while others are bringing logs in from the forest. And there are soldiers here and there sort of keeping guard, but and they're not engaged in any of the work. What are you guys? What are you guys gonna do from there as you approach camp?
Well, Eigner obviously is picking up the smell of cut wood and, can hear all the activity and all that everything going on. And he just kind of mutters something under his breath to Rory and says, "If logging is such a bad idea, why are so many of your people into it?"
Well, I don't know. That's just very strange. Likely just following orders.
All right, then.
So,
Should we find a guard to
Yeah.
ask?
yeah, I was gonna say, if you're looking to Rory's lead, he'll approach one of the guards.
Yeah. Guard's the best bet.
He just looks at you and says, "Well, I'll go talk to one of them, and I'll be back shortly, unless you want to come with."
Can I want to come.
All right. Yeah, I think just two of us should be good. Any more than that, and it might get some suspicions raised.
Okay.
Try keep your heads down, and don't bring any suspicion to yourself. You're already about dwarf taller than all the rest of these ones.
Oh, if we needed to have a disguise, I could have done that already.
Yeah, I could also look like a dwarf if that would help.
It might help later. I think changing into a dwarf right now would be
Well,
even more suspicious.
I mean, obviously that wouldn't be a good idea, but I'm just saying you could have told us earlier. I mean, we're resourceful in that way. But yeah, let's do this. I know how to stay cool.
So he approaches one of the
Everyone
guards,
just
Ellie in
laughs.
tows, and says, "Oi, anyone of you seen Commander Durone?" And they say, "Aye, who's asking?" It's for a mission. It's not really any of your business. I just need to speak with the commander. The dwarf kind of gives him a sideways look and says, "Well, I imagine you've got papers if it's not any of my business." Rory kind of looks at you, Ellie, and goes, "Well, I didn't really plan for this. Let me see what I got. Can pull together. Can you help me out here, though?"
With what?
Oh,
How?
I don't know.
Oh, I've got an idea. Right. I'm gonna cast a spell. You ask him. You just push him and kind of bring up the guy that I'm whispering this very quietly away from the guard, by the way. You ask him some more questions about where the commander is, and then I'll read his mind.
Oh, all right. And then he turns to the guy and says, "Oh, look, I'm an old friend of the commander's, and I just wanted to see him. I was told he was down here somewhere, and went on one of them crazy hunts again. What's that all about? And as Darun starts asking questions, you're reading this guy's mind.
Detect thoughts?
He needs to make a saving throw to, doesn't he?
Yeah, I need to find the detect thoughts spell. Oh my god, this is so long.
It's
I-
it's a complicated spell.
I learn like the base things without a roll.
I think it calls it surface thoughts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's a roll to delve into deeper ones. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Wisdom save, otherwise.
his surface thoughts come up as like, just Darun taking a small, lightly armored group of dwarves deeper into the forest, to confront the threat. And this dwarf has very strong sense of unease and just foolishness about this whole situation, but even more about Darun and his crusade in the heart of the forest.
Okay. I did read in the spell. He's gonna know that I read it. It's fine.
Wait, I think.
Okay.
I think they only know if you probe deeper into their mind.
Yeah.
I think if you just read their surface thoughts, you're able to get out without anyone knowing that you were doing anything.
Okay. I'm good with that as a ruler.
Now, if only you had modify
Okay.
memory. Now that would be a good one to combo. Oh, Alex is shaking her head no. What's wrong with this spell? Come on. There's no way it could be ethically ambiguous or evil in any way.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I have some thoughts.
It's not like you're gonna turn yourself into somebody and then use modify memory to make that person believe that you're the real.
Oh my god, you actually did that though. I forgot.
Thereby
that.
ruining
Wait,
their life.
No, Halifax did that.
Halifax
Oh,
did
man.
that.
That was the
my
first
God.
thing that made Leah decide she hated him. That was the very first thing.
Oh my god.
It was
That was a pretty.
Regis Alvaron the
Oh
Third.
god, that was a wild ride. That one. That was a wild ride.
The second, not the third.
The second.
Oh, okay, second, yeah. His father, Regis Alvaron the First. He called himself that before he had a son. So at this point, the conversation between Rory and this guard have gone a little lively, and Rory is asking about getting a hold of some good brew and a proper breakfast.
I've got an idea. I've got another idea, a different one.
Uh-oh.
I'll sort of shake my head at Rory, and then say, "Oh, I think actually our friends have our our paperwork. We'll just go and get it from them."
The guard kind of peeks over your shoulder, seeing the human and the elf standing a bit off. You're traveling with some strange company in a weird time. Might
Would you send that to Rory, not me?
Yeah. Maybe you want to, tread a little bit more carefully before people start asking questions.
Why? Okay. Well, we'll be back in a second.
Right.
About to start questioning him, I'm gonna not do that.
Right.
I tug at Rory to come back over to where the others are.
Yeah, so while they're away, Leah and Eigner, Leah, you're noticing that the working elves or dwarves, they're giving all of you or the two of you, a lot of notice as they're going about their business. And there's a lot of kind of whispering happening amongst them. Eigner, you smell a strong pot of coffee not far away.
Well, as much as I would like that, I'm trying to stay cool over here, man. I'm trying to stay cool. No, Eigner's keeping his head down. He doesn't want to do anything to even get close to pissing off any dwarves or giving them the wrong impression of anything. He's staying cool, staying very passive. Yeah. But he appreciates the smell of the coffee.
Then your ears pick up the sizzle of something being thrown onto a skillet. And you recognize that as the burning fat of some fine bacon.
It's like they're trying to break his will or something. No, Eigner's still staying strong. Wait. Eigner's still staying strong.
And then you hear a very, very low muttered bit of conversation, and your name mentioned.
Hold on. Hold the phone. Is there a way I can do something clever at all?
I don't know, are you able to do anything clever?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, shit. No, I can't. Because clairvoyance takes 10 minutes to cast? Are you kidding me?
Dang.
That's brutal. Okay, well, I guess the best I can do at the moment is try and roll a perception check to amplify and focus my hearing.
Okay.
Which is still pretty good. You know, the odds are in my favor, but... that's going to be an even, dirty 20.
Alright. So as you kind of slow your breathing and listen to the intent conversation, you'll hear a dwarf. Yeah, that looks to be Eigner to me. That's lucky for that elven woman that he's with her, otherwise I'd end her on the spot.
Wait, did you just say end her?
Yep.
Oh. Wait, so do they hate me or hate her? Do they hate both of us?
They said you're the reason why they're not going to kill her.
For sure. Wait, hold on. What? Alright, Eigner's just really confused, but he is, like, still, like, very stone-faced, very passive, but listening super intently. He's listening so intently, he's, like, totally tuning out to, like, what's happening around him with, like, Ellie and Rory and Leah. He's just trying to pick up as much info as he possibly can.
Yeah. And then you kind of... You hear other snippets of conversation around you. Some people talking about why are the elves here? Didn't they turn their back on us? And others begin to mutter about, isn't that the blind warrior that helped out the dragon slayer? And so you're kind of piecing together that the workers around you, the loggers around you, have been hearing rumors, it seems like, of bits of happening in Cold Harbor with the drow betraying the dwarves and sort of fighting over petty parts of the city, and more of Darun's adventure to the island to the north and his conflict with the dragon there. And as you're listening to this, you hear footsteps growing closer. One you distinctly recognize as Ellie's, and the other more heavier squat steps of Rory, not Darun.
Hey, I'm really sorry about that, but my roommate texted me something that was very technical and about the lease, and I had to get back to him really quick.
Oh, no,
so I picked up, that's the Eigner. He's the one who helped the Dragon Slayer.
Yeah.
Does that give me any kind of, like, inkling of, like, oh, who is the Dragon Slayer anyways? Like, if I helped the Dragon Slayer, are they talking about Eridu? Are they talking about who are they talking about? Are they talking about
Well, the person you're looking for is called
the Dragon Slayer? Yeah, for sure. So
I've put it together. How have you not put it together?
because Eigner's very confused right now.
You could roll another check.
I'm gonna roll an insight check.
Do it.
How
Do it.
insightful! I get an 18 total to hopefully have my character be smarter than I am.
Yeah, you are smarter than you. Um, you you begin to piece together your adventure in the north, uh, where you met an enthusiastic dwarf who knew Theala quite well, and you remember your kind of three-way conflict between the drow. I don't believe it was the drow. I think it was the
Asmar.
elves.
Asmar and elves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, up
Mm-hmm.
north, and the dwarven outpost there, and the white dragon,
Mm-hmm.
and that whole conflict of the first attempt at an experimentation with
The mechanical
the
dragon
warforged
and
and the
the
mechanical dragon.
warforged.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm remembering details about that.
All that is kind of coming to you
Mm-hmm.
as you hear the footsteps that are distinctly Ellie's, and then the lower squat footsteps of Rory approaching you.
I will turn in what I think is Ellie's direction and just say blankly, very quietly under my breath, but enough so that she can hear. I think I've met this dragon slayer we're looking for.
Okay. Would I? The fact that I've like followed their stars and stuff. I guess like, do I know of and like, especially if the dwarves are talking about it? Do you think Ellie would know any of
Yeah,
that stuff?
I would like you to roll me a history check.
No. It's gonna be a no. 7.
So, when it comes to stories told about Eigner, who has been picked up throughout, his name has started to be told by bards as the blind warrior, uh, or the one who wields the sword of a king. Um,
Yep.
Depending on where you're coming from and which culture, the dwarves revere him for being a blind warrior, while in the Eastern kingdoms, especially amongst the elves, he is regarded as the one who's wielding the sword of the cursed king. Um, and of course, in the other free kingdoms, city states, it's just become the sword of a king. Um, but especially the exploits of the North and that whole conflict is there are a lot of stories that came out of there. Whether it's Egner taking on an entire army by himself, or it's the union of the people of the free kingdoms and the Dwarven Empire coming together to slay a mighty dragon. The stories that come out of that area seem to be extremely fanciful and almost unbelievable in their depth, and very contradictory.
Um, I don't know what you say.
Egner's
Well,
starting to realize that he's kind of a celebrity. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
God.
Oh, it's gonna
He's gonna
go.
let that go to his
Oh, it's
head.
gonna go to his head big time.
Oh
Oh yeah.
yeah.
But not yet. He is still in that shock phase. You know.
Yep.
I do have a question regarding Leah though. Has she picked up on the hostility toward her? Can I do a perception or insight?
Yeah, yeah, because I think you would have enough knowledge to wonder if the looks you're getting are toward you or towards Egner.
Right.
Yeah.
Ooh, I rolled a 19. I don't have my sheet up because I was afraid it was gonna mess things up. But my uh, hang
Insight.
on.
Yep.
I can pull your sheet up.
If you can pull it up
I
quickly,
can
then
do that.
I'll.
I am
Um,
almost there.
are you trained in insight?
I am.
Okay, so it would be a +6, wouldn't it?
You have a +8 to insight.
Oh dang.
Thank
Leah
you.
and Samaria.
Oh right, because you guys have a higher thing than I
I
thought.
have a high wisdom and I have the bonus. So
Proficiency.
yeah, I thought it was +8, but I couldn't remember for
Mhm.
sure. So that's 27. Yeah, that's 27.
Yeah, it you definitely are picking up a few things that to realize the looks are going more toward you than toward Egner. Oddly enough.
It's not that odd. She's picked up that there have been some that the elves and the dwarves tend to not be on the same side. She was maybe a little more surprised that the humans aren't getting the same treatment.
Yeah. And I don't know if you look a little more drowish than like Eridu does, for instance.
I have, yeah, I think she does just very slightly. She has white streaks in her hair as opposed to Eridu, who does not.
Yeah.
And her eyes are much paler, so she might have a bit more of that.
And, okay, cool. So that being said, uh, Rory turns to Ellie and says, "Well, you had an idea, right? Let's you did your thing. What happened?"
He seemed like worried about stuff. He seemed very uneasy. I had an idea of how to get them to pretend that we have papers, though. Oh, it's not going to be paper, but
Oh, I mean, yeah, anything that'll work. I mean, I don't think we'll need papers if we get info. Sorry, I'm trying to think of how to word that because he doesn't know things. I know things. Well, I mean, if we can just figure out where Darun is, we don't need papers. He just wanted to see something to prove that I had a secret mission with Darun. Kind of blew that already when I told him we're old friends.
I mean, we could ask a different guard.
No, we definitely could. You did find out from his memory that Darun is in the heart of the forest.
Ah, so we bypass it entirely.
Also,
Everyone's cutting out a look.
well, I mean, the other thing that Ellie got was like what I would call spooky vibes from the detect bots. So she could totally recommend that and maybe omit the whole like, oh yeah, there's something like really weird going on. By the way, I mean, but you know, we can go about this any which way. And Ellie's the one that's really got all the best information at the moment.
Especially, go on.
No, go on.
Since Eigner has now said out loud that he knows this Darun, if we can just bypass the papers entirely by leaving and finding this person without having to talk to any more guards, are you on friendly terms with him? Do you remember Eigner?
Darun.
Well, you said you think you maybe knew him.
Well, yeah, I mean, we met and everything. I mean, obviously don't know what the guy looks like. Only met the once. We were somewhere completely halfway on the other side of the world, it seemed like. And honestly, he was more close with Theala than anything else. Him and Theala go way back. But I don't know. It's not like we hated each other or anything like that. I thought we got along very professionally well.
You were disguised as an old dwarf the majority of the time that you interacted with him.
Oh. Yeah. About that. And then Eigner will remember.
Because otherwise they wouldn't know who the blind warrior is.
For sure. I'm not sure how much he will recognize me, but I think the important thing is that I will be able to lean on the Theala connection. I think they were tight enough. If I do a little bit of name dropping, just be a little bit diplomatic, I think we could get along just fine.
I mean, I do have the reason that I was sent here. I'm hoping that when I bring out Zella's name, something will happen. That's kind of my my way of getting him to do what we need him to do. Hopefully.
Right.
Okay.
So I would like us to leave this camp and not really attempt to do anything further. I'm getting very strong hostility from these people. I think they do not like elves.
Yeah, I was thinking about how I could tell you that, but they have not been saying very kind things. We definitely got to keep an eye on the whole situation.
No, I don't have
Well,
to convince them that I'm neutral, so
after we leave this camp, Leah, you could put the disguise hat on and you could look like a dwarf.
sure.
Nice.
But we need to
Solve
leave
that
first.
problem going forward.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's just go into the forest then.
Okay. And I feel somehow now that I don't need to disguise myself. Don't need to disguise myself at all, actually.
All right. Yeah,
Huh.
the camps are only along this one part of the forest, and as you guys kind of back off and get a better view of it, it only seems like they're working on certain sections. And there's plenty of ways you can get into the forest and not be noticed. Um, the forest itself doesn't seem very large from the outside. That's all I've got on that.
All right. Well,
I'm really
hopefully.
good at giving information about the world, but giving it no context for you to make any specific opinions about.
Sure. That's hopeful then. Hopefully it won't take too long to find this Daroon dude.
Yeah. Um, what's your guys' plan?
Well, we're still supposed to go into this like friendly, right? So we're just gonna go and like chat to him. So I think we just walk in like confidently. If there's any, well, so my idea for the whole guard thing was so I can do like make little recordings and things. We could have Rory record a message as if it's from the commander, being like, "Let us through," basically.
Oh, yeah, that would be a possibility. I mean, I could try to get his voice down. I don't know. He's a bit older than me. See how convincing I can be.
Do we really need to rely on deception? I mean, if we do the bare minimum and make sure that I don't look like an elf, then I shouldn't we just be able to?
Well, they were insisting we had papers, or like proof that he was being sent here on a mission. So
Well, I mean that was just so we could try and find Daroon, but we're going on the
Well, yeah,
much
but that's
more
what we're
direct
doing.
path of finding Daroon. So
but there might be guards on the way. Is all I'm saying. But
Mm.
sure, we'll just walk in, and if the guards get in the way, I'll just start shouting his name. It's fine.
That's actually a really good point. Having a backup plan in case there's anything else in the way.
I do like a nod at Eigner, and then I'm like, shit, you can't see.
Let me
I
give it a
do
shot.
know how to do it.
I'll try it out. Right, you got your recording thing ready? Let's see how I can do.
Tinker it and pass it. Yeah.
This is Daroon, and my friends they're good friends of mine. They need to find me wherever I'm at, and let them by. Daroon,
I
how was that?
I look at Eigner. Actually, since he can't see me, I like poke him and just kind of mutter, "Did that sound right to you?"
absolutely not.
I'll take it back, and I'll just be like, that was great. It's good for us to have a backup plan. I'm just gonna put it away, and then like commit to not using it, but also like try and be, like reassuring and like praising him for doing it.
I think I did all right.
so good, Rory. You're such a perfect little angel. You're great. You're so good. Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
All right, so you guys make it into the woods, and are making an attempt at making it towards the heart of the woods. I'm saying the word "making" a whole bunch. Go ahead and roll a survival check.
All of us?
Yeah, all of you or one of you who has the best survival. It doesn't
Let's
really
see.
matter.
Leah's got 8. I've got 8.
I rolled extremely well. Would you like to use my check?
I've got
Oh.
0.
Yes, we would like to use Alex's extremely good check.
Let's use my check. I got another 27.
Wow.
All right.
This tray keeps rolling 19s.
Yeah, that rolling tray is really something.
Yeah.
Really something.
Once you step into the woods, Leah, and all of you, but especially Leah,
Mhm.
you just sort of feel like you know exactly where you need to go. It's almost as if the woods themselves are reaching out to you with the depth of their own emotion, and you're just being drawn toward a place that is. You kind of get the same feeling that Eigner got, that it's divine, but
Mhm.
it also feels very similar to the Feywild.
Mm.
And as you guys venture deeper into the woods, you've taken a path, or at least Leah has led you in the direction of a path that has kept you out of the way of any other loggers or any of the major work happening within the woods. And once you get a little deeper into the forest itself, the sounds of the dwarves at work die away, and Agner specifically begins to pick up the sounds of things moving in the underbrush and birds flapping and chirping overhead. Um, you see a family of deer trot by no more than 20 feet away from you, seemed completely unperturbed by your presence.
Hmm.
It's as though this part of the forest knows what it's doing and is unconcerned with intrusions.
Hmm.
The light comes through the opening of the canvas of trees or like leaves overhead, and like in these shafts that come down like heavenly glows. And as you venture deeper and deeper into the forest, those shafts become less and less, and the forest itself takes on a much darker appearance. And you can make out some of the broken, broken twigs and tramped down shrubbery to let you know that others have traveled through here recently before you. And as the forest opens into a grove, you see this pool of water shimmering still like glass. And in the center of the water is a small island, and on that island are a cluster of trees that grow in this like their leaves or their branches intertwine in a perfect circle, and inside that circle is a faint emanating light. But more uh, interesting than that is walking along the surface of the lake is a unicorn, emanating its own light from its horn, from its mane, from its tail, and that light is what fills this grove.
Oh, unicorn. Oh.
As soon as you see that, then you see three dwarven figures crouched behind a tree, or a couple of trees, about 20 feet to your right.
Are they hunting the unicorn?
Dude, homie, that's got to be like an endangered species or something. Like this is some
Terrible.
poaching. This is some poaching ass shit right now. It's fucked up.
Uh, yeah, you turn to them, and one of them has got a gun. It is strapped to his back, and he is crouched behind a tree that's fallen. He's a young dwarf, doesn't even have a beard. Another one is dressed in all leathers. At his hips are a set of daggers, and in the middle is a grisly-looking dwarf. Aged lines across his face, a long white flowing beard, and long white hair. Um, Resting against the tree is a large halberd with a studded metal uh, thing weight at the bottom end. And they're all just sitting there staring at the unicorn. They don't even seem to notice your presence.
Can I nudge Rory and be like, is one of them him?
He sort of jostles from him taking in the scene too and looks over. Oh, right. Yeah, he's the old one in the middle. That's Daron right there.
Oh, we found him then. Let's go. I'm just gonna start walking over.
I mean, okay.
Just because Eigner's too curious, like he's definitely getting like through his senses like some kind of thing. Like he doesn't necessarily recognize that it's a unicorn yet, but he like knows that something crazy cool is over there. So he's gonna cast detect magic and just like stare in wonder and awe at like whatever magical vibe is coming off of the unicorn.
Yeah. Um, so the unicorn itself, through this magic vibe, is just an emanation of exact purity,
Whoa.
and then there are these waves of magic flowing from the open circular tree branches in the middle of the island that you recognize as being Feywild magic,
Mm-hmm.
and it's reaching out like tendrils of smoke and dissipating into the world. Um,
Wow. All right.
Does Leah also recognize the feeling of Feywild magic? I guess you said that she did, that she could sense it. But can she tell that that's where it's coming from at this point?
yes, this is the anchor point that was pulling you here.
Wow. Okay.
I think she will whisper something of that to the others, saying, that circle of tree branches is strongly Feywild. Also, there's a unicorn, she'll say to Eigner.
You're telling me. Eigner is seriously like tripping out, like hardcore. Like the visuals and the feeling of the magic, like washing over him as he's seeing it all wash over him, is like almost a transcendental experience. I think he's gonna ditch Urana and start worshiping unicorns. Like,
That's fine.
honestly,
Ellie's fine with that.
my new deity, the
Unicorn.
unicorn. Oh my god. It's like some My Little Pony vibes. Almost.
As Ellie begins to make her way towards Darun, the younger dwarf with the gun on his back, he turns toward Darun and says, "Well, is now the time?" And Darun slowly just lifts a finger to his lips. And then you have approached them within.
When I see him putting his finger to his lips, I'm gonna like go into a like tiptoe, like try to be like quiet, but not like stealth on them. Just like I've seen they're trying to be quiet, so I'm just trying to be like, hi, and then, like whisper hello to them.
Maintaining suspicion, because if they're trying to be quiet because they're about to hunt a unicorn, I probably am going to try and stop them. So,
Well, we also don't want to piss them off though.
true.
Right now.
Will you make me a stealth check?
Yeah. Okay. 19.
Okay. The first one to react is the dwarf in the studded leather armor. He swings around, drawing one of his daggers, and like holding it up as he kind of gives this. Ah! And
Could I just go? Like put my finger to my lips, like his boss just did, but smiling, like, and then sort of wave.
And Darun sort of startles and turns towards you as well. The younger dwarf with the gun, he is so caught off guard, he like startles and jumps back and tumbles backward over the fallen log and lands on his butt on the other side, with a slight splash as he lands in sort of the softer part of the earth where some of the lake has come up and softened the ground. And Darun sets his old eyes on you, and then they follow back. He sees you, and then he sees Rory, and then they lock on Eigner, and he stands and goes, "Eigner! Eigner Bosch! Is that you?" And then just stomps forward, and you just suddenly feel these strong arms wrap themselves around your waist. and you are lifted in the air in a big dwarven hug, and then
Egner
dropped down again.
Egner is caught completely off guard because he's still in the middle of his like psychedelic magic trip, unicorn trip, and he hears his name, but he doesn't really respond to it because he's still so entranced. And then he gets grabbed, and then he just kind of does like a high pitched kind of squealy type noise, like like very uncharacteristic of him. But he's been caught so off guard, he lets out one of those, and then he goes, Daroon, yes. Good to see you. I mean, in a manner of speaking, it's good to be in your presence again. I wasn't sure if you'd remember me, to be honest.
Well, to be honest, you sort of showed yourself to me as a bit of a old dwarven man. It took me a while to finally figure out who you actually were.
Yeah, I apologize for the deception, but we weren't sure how careful we needed to be at that time.
Oh, it's fine, it's fine. It's all, water under a unicorn.
Look, Daroon, can I ask you something? When's the last time you spoke with Theala?
Uh, well, probably not since you left the island. That cold, god-ridden place. Happy to be rid of it.
Daroon, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but Theala's dead.
He, you know, you feel his body presence, the heat raising from his body, just back away from you for a moment as he takes a step back and his head lowers. And, poor lass. She was likely to wind up there somewhere anyway, like. I'm sorry to hear it, though.
Yeah, I'm sorry to have to tell you. She died in the line of duty, which for her probably would have been her preferred way to go.
I reckon you're right about that, like.
But now that you know that, I guess you're wondering what the hell we're doing here.
Uh, he looks at the unicorn, looks back at his men, looks at you. Yeah. What are you doing here?
Honestly, I think my friends should ask you what they need to ask you. Are you guys trying to kill that unicorn, by the way? Because I don't know if that's a good idea, Daroon.
Well, I got me a bit of a reputation, and, so I was ordered to eliminate the threats that would keep this forest, well, a threat, and, I planned on killing that unicorn until I saw her.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that thing is not a threat. That thing is a transcendental, gorgeous visitation of magical aspects on Volohede. You know what I mean? I'm very struck by it.
I agree with you. And, I also, well, it's already killed 3 of our workers.
What?
And so I imagine it's got some threat to it.
Should we maybe back away a fair bit then? And Eigner starts taking some cautionary steps backward toward the tree line. Maybe we could just like talk over here. Maybe get everyone.
Yeah, for those of you who've noticed, the unicorn has stopped its muttering about, and it's just been standing there staring at this whole exchange. And the daggered dwarf has hunched down again, and he's also studying it, trying to make himself a bit more seen. The younger dwarf is scrambled over the log again in fright, and he is just like he's ducked down with his back against the log, looking the other way from the unicorn, just panting heavily.
Hmm.
And he's just muttering, Did it see me? Do you think it saw me?"
Well, Eigner will keep on trying to coax everyone, like maybe back toward the trees, or maybe go toward the younger dwarves, or I don't know, just trying to like get them a little more out of the way of the unicorn's immediate presence, and then he'll also beckon Ellie and Rory over. Ellie, Rory, I think you better talk to Darun here.
I think so. Ellie's not noticed the unicorn stuff. She's basically just stood there, like arms folded, like pouting, like this is supposed to be her thing. And the guy just walked straight past her and went to Eigner, and now it's all about Eigner. So she's just like kind of sulking
Celebrity.
about
Sorry, celebrity.
it.
Ragnar, his big head.
It's happening quicker than I thought.
And then she'll just kind of like make a like humping noise, and then sort of march over. She's not being like overly cautious. And she kind of like say to the dwarves that's still there, it's like, well, I guess we're going over here now, so you should probably come too.
Yeah, of course we should, says the younger one, and he rustles himself up and follows you. The other one, kind of crouches to more. He gets into more of a standing position, but backs away, keeping his eyes on the unicorn. It dips its head and takes a drink of water as it stares at you. Its horn sort of swirls and glows, but it makes no move, and as you guys begin to step away, it starts to trot around the island again.
Leodin will move to place herself between the group and the unicorn. She feels like perhaps her connection with the Fae things might place her in a better position to run interference if she needs to. So she's going to kind of be on the edge that is closest to the unicorn as they gather.
Yeah. As you guys back away and move into a safer distance, Durin will round on everyone and say, "So, what brings y'all searching for me here in the woods?"
Well, I was sent to find you by an old friend. He called you the Dragon Slayer, and my great friend Rory here told me that was you, so we came to find you.
Right. Many have been calling me that, Mike. I have to make sure I distinguish between these voices. Who's this friend of yours? The one who sent you to find me?
His name is Zelor. I don't know if you remember him.
Timing.
Say that again? Sorry.
His name is Zelor. I don't know if you remember him.
His face gets very stony, and he looks at you with hard eyes and says, I remember Zella."
Can I insight? Do I need to insight? Like,
No, he's
no?
very...
Okay.
He's not too happy to hear the name. And,
Okay.
what's he got you doing for him?
Well, I need some help finding my brother, and he said that you could probably help.
And this is going to be the favor he asks of me. Is it?
Yes.
Fine. Who's your brother?
Who is the brother? Whose brother?
Who's your brother? Brother.
Who's my brother? His name is Ren. Ren Nobel, I guess he's got my last name. I believe he's been kept by. And then I'm gonna kind of like sideways look at the two dwarves that are with us, like, and try and judge whether this is okay to be talking about in front of them, because
He gives you a slight nod.
as in like it's okay to go on.
Or no, I'm sorry, a slight shake of the head. Wrong direction.
Alright.
Wrong thing. No, yeah, a slight shake of the head.
Okay, so to not tell him.
He turns to his companions and says, "Well, I believe that's enough for today. We should head back to camp, bring it in, and call it a night." And the one who has the more roguey of the two says, "I'm sure that's a good idea. We were sent here to do a job. A job you have been unwilling to do for the last 3 days. Why should we give up now?" And, Durin rounds on him and says, "Because it's my order. Now let's go." And he begins to march away. The other dwarf sort of huffs and waits for everyone else to move on and stay near the back of the group. The young dwarf kind of doesn't seem to know what to do. So he ends up rushing and tries to keep in tow with the rune.
Eigner thinks it's a pretty good idea to follow the rest of them. He takes one last longing look at the unicorn with his magical sight, and yeah, he's just gonna try and take that sense with him, that kind of beautiful, pure sense of unity and light, and yeah, it's really affected him in this interesting way. And he goes.
All right. As you guys make it further into the woods toward the logging camps again, I would like to know what your passive... No, I'm going to have you guys make a roll. Will everyone roll me a perception check?
Is it based on smelling or hearing?
You have advantage. You can,
Yay! I can smell it or hear it. I have a 20 total.
Okay.
I also had a dirty 20.
All right.
11. I'm too distracted by dwarves.
All right. So as you're moving along, Eigner, you suddenly catch a whiff of something in the air, and about the same time, names.
Leah?
Leah?
You feel a pang of just like emotionless greed.
Hmm.
And then there is the twang of a crossbow string that snaps as you two, notice the assassins perched in the trees above you.
Sweet.
And that bit of crossbow lands in the side of the young dwarf, who is standing right next to Darun, and it could have been meant for either of them. It's that close of a shot. He falls screaming and holding the wound on his side, and as he does, the two of you look into the trees to see two drow just, running along the limbs and jumping into another tree to find another place to hide and load their crossbows. And as that happens... Actually, no, as that happens, Arthas, we're going to take a break.
Well, ain't that fucking awesome? Wow. Least that's the thing I least expected.
Nothing's easy.
Yeah, dude.
Just wanted to find the guy. That's my brother.
Nobody-
The drow coming in and messing up everything.
Nobody expects two drow assassins with fucking crossbows in the trees. Nobody expects.
Never seen it before.
Never seen
I-
it.
I feel like a little bit of excitement would be nice because the beginning was a lot slower than I expected.
Well, I mean, it is exciting. All right, so if you want to see us get shot by crossbows more, come on back in about 15 minutes, and our break will be over, and then we'll come back, and then, yeah, it'll all be fun. It'll be great. Thanks, folks.